On World News Tonight this Friday, Matthew Shepard, the gay college student murdered in Wyoming, is buried today. Some pretty vicious demonstrators show up outside the church. The Nobel Prize for Peace trying to encourage the men and women of Northern Ireland. And John Paul II, his 20th anniversary as Pope. Now can he make peace in the Middle East, and can he make American Catholics conform? We'll take a closer look.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We're going to begin tonight in Casper, Wyoming. Wyoming is sometimes called the Lonesome Land. Casper is one of the few real places of any size. Doesn't very often make the news. But in Casper today, they buried young Matthew Shepard, the gay university student who was beaten and left to die outside the town last week. 2 men are charged with his murder. ABC's Lisa Salters is still there.
The dreary weather fit the mood at St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Casper, where Matthew Shepard's family and friends came to say goodbye.
Today is for Matthew and his family.
Inside, the private ceremony was only for those who knew him best.
Most merciful God, whose wisdom is beyond our understanding, deal graciously with Matthew's friends and family in their grief.
Earlier in the day, Shepard's parents spoke publicly for the first time about his murder.
Matthew was the type of person that if this had happened to another person, would have been the first on the scene to offer his help, his hope, and his heart to the family.
They described the 21-year-old college freshman as a loving son who didn't deserve to be beaten last week and left alone on a wooden fence to die.
Because Matt's last few minutes of consciousness on earth may have been hell. His family and friends want more than ever to say their farewells to him in a peaceful, dignified, and loving manner.
But protesters opposed to Shepard's lifestyle came anyway. They gathered across the street from today's service, and they remembered him differently.
He lived in shame, he died in shame. I mean, it's not okay to be gay. I mean, it's a soul-damning, nation-destroying lifestyle.
The protest didn't go unanswered.
If you guys don't recognize him as a human being, then you don't need to be out here.
The Shepards chose to ignore all that. Instead, they gave thanks today to the thousands of well-wishers around the world, who they say have comforted them in their time of sorrow. Lisa Salters, ABC News, Casper, Wyoming.
Almost wherever people are talking about Matthew Shepard's murder, people are also talking about violence in general against gays and lesbians. It is a national problem. It doesn't get a lot of attention. Gays and lesbians say it doesn't get enough attention. The crime rate against gays and lesbians, by some measures, has been going up. Here's ABC's Rebecca Chase.
You're welcome to bring friends.
In this support group in Dallas, lesbian and gay teenagers described the daily harassment.
And some guy threw a beer bottle at me when I was at the bus stop and yelled out, "Faggot."
The physical threats, the violence.
I've had death threats in my lockers, had a gun pulled out on me, I've had a knife pulled out on me.
I was cut with the knife. I was beat up pretty much almost every day. I couldn't go to my classes without being harassed.
Studies show that as many as 30% of gay high school and college students have been threatened or injured. A survey of colleges found that hate crimes for sexual orientation are the most violent.
There was 4 that beat him with boards with nails in them, and then one of them used a knife and stabbed him 3 times.
Nancy Broussard is describing the murder of her 27-year-old son. As violent as it was, it is the type of case often left out of official FBI hate crime statistics, because in the initial investigation, the motive may be unclear.
In its most recent yearly report, the FBI said 3 people had been killed because of their sexual orientation. But the National Coalition of Anti-Violence Programs counted 21 murders.
I would call that an epidemic of hate being acted out against lesbians and gay men throughout this country.
Epidemic may seem a strong word, but when Houston police went undercover to combat anti-gay violence, they encountered violence every night.
The big deal is you hit an officer in the mouth.
But I apologize for that. I thought you were damn queer.
It's attitudes like that, say activists, that feed the violence. Rebecca Chase, ABC News, Atlanta.
In a moment, we'll go on to the other news. What kind of a deal did the United States make in Kosovo? The Serbs are not leaving, and the NATO alliance appears to be backing off. And later in the broadcast, 20 years on the job, and so many miles to go in this incredible journey.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Aetna U.S. Healthcare.
We can show you people who believe every day is a gift. These same people believe that the level of commitment they've received from their healthcare company helped make that gift possible. We're Aetna U.S. Healthcare, raising the quality of healthcare in America.
At Uniroyal, in order to make a point about our new NailGuard tires, we added a few to our test track. NailGuard tires, designed to seal 90% of tread punctures, instantly and permanently, only from Uniroyal.
When you get heartburn, indigestion, and pain, don't get these to relieve all your symptoms. When pain this bad grabs you, don't grab these for complete or fast relief. Problems this bad need the 100% solution. Alka-Seltzer, the only one with effervescent power to speed relief and medicines for all your symptoms. Heartburn and pain are no problem with the 100% solution. Alka-Seltzer. And for your worst gas pain, try Alka-Seltzer Gas Relief Liquid Soft Gels.
Overseas today, NATO has extended the deadline for the Serbs to get out of Kosovo. It's been 5 days since the Serbs agreed to withdraw their forces from Kosovo and stop the violence against ethnic Albanians. Now they have even more time, even though NATO admits the Serbs are already not fulfilling their promises. ABC's Mike Lee is in Kosovo tonight.
These Serb police were packing up and leaving. But earlier, on the same road, several hundred other police had already arrived to take their place. At times, it's a revolving door that allows the Serbs to say their forces are withdrawing. U.S. intelligence sources say Serb anti-aircraft missile batteries remain active in Kosovo. They are supposed to be moved or turned off. Part of the problem here is that NATO has not said exactly how many police the Serbs are allowed to keep in Kosovo. As for the people who the agreement was meant to help, many say it hasn't changed a thing. 23-year-old Rafiti Nuha feels betrayed that the U.S. did not crush the Serbs militarily. The Serbs are claiming they have withdrawn, she said. But last night we were running for cover because they were firing shells at us. UN aid workers are also worried that the agreement may not work. So they're rushing emergency food and other supplies to the refugees to keep them alive. This is a race against time. The winter rains and snow will soon make the roads here too muddy for the relief aid trucks to even reach these mountain villages.
If there's not a solution to that within the next, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks, we will see another catastrophe beside the one here.
People dying in the field.
Oh, yeah, as well.
It's freezing to death?
Yeah.
There are tens of thousands of people at risk and still afraid to go home. And now, there are no NATO airstrikes expected anytime soon. Mike Lee, ABC News, Kosovo.
In Sweden today, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to 2 men who are still trying to achieve a lasting peace in Northern Ireland. John Hume, a Catholic, and David Trimble, a Protestant, will share the prize and the money that goes with it. They are, in so many respects, unlikely partners for anything. Here's ABC's Jim Wooten.
It must have been difficult.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee.
As perplexing as Northern Ireland itself. Easy to award it to a non-violent Catholic, Mr. Hume. Not so easy to name a militant Protestant, Mr. Trimble. But just too difficult to choose Gerry Adams, an integral part of the settlement, but an awkward choice for the prize because of his long association with IRA terrorists. He was not included. Trimble in Denver today was cautious.
I hope very much that this award doesn't turn out to be premature, because there is still work to be done to secure peace in Northern Ireland.
Hume was not so much exultant as hopeful. The prize, he said,
strengthens our peace process enormously because it tells all the people what the world wants to see on our streets.
Trimble marched in those streets with Protestant hardliners, while Hume was caught between British troops, Protestant paramilitaries, and Catholic bombers, until eventually he brought them all into negotiations. In New York today, Adams said the Nobel was not the big prize.
The big prize is the peace settlement, and that's the prize for us all to keep our eye on, and that's the prize which is worth achieving.
He did congratulate Hume, his fellow Catholic, but Adams pointedly would not speak the name of David Trimble. Even on this day of cheer, old animosities were there. Jim Wooten, ABC News, London.
There was a depressing report from the United Nations today about the world's poor. For some, it's an alarming message. 1.5 billion people earn less than $1 a day. Nearly half of all young children in South Asia do not get enough to eat. And aid from the richer countries is at an all-time low. We did learn also today of two things that Senator John Glenn can watch for when he goes back into space at the end of the month. An iceberg the size of Delaware has broken off from the Ronne ice shelf in the Antarctic. Scientists say they suspect global warming. And Glenn can also look for the city of Perth in Australia to turn their lights on again. As he goes by, they did it for him the first time 36 years ago. When we come back, what difference does a day make on Wall Street?
At Cigna, we care about people who have babies. We care about companies that make steel and about companies that make bread. We care about life and about all that makes life great or possible or just better. At Cigna, we care because it is our business to care. But we also care because, well, we have babies too. Cigna, a business of caring.
When your allergies are a nightmare, you need help. Not just any help. You need the power of Zyrtec. Prescription Zyrtec starts working fast and keeps on working for 24 hours. And Zyrtec works against so many allergies, from cats and dogs to pollen and dust. So when allergies are a nightmare, and when are they not? Remember the power of Zyrtec. In studies, drowsiness was the most common side effect. Others included fatigue and dry mouth. Most side effects were mild or moderate. Most people weren't bothered by them enough to stop taking Zyrtec. To learn more, look for an ad in Life magazine or ask your doctor or pharmacist.
You can feel it start to burn all through here. All you can think about is getting rid of it quickly. I even tried Zantac 75, but it didn't work fast enough. Finally, I asked my doctor, and my doctor said Mylanta. Fast-acting Mylanta was made to work fast, where heartburn hurts most. Soothing, on contact. It's so fast. My doctor said Mylanta.
And if you suffer from gas, there's a Mylanta just for you. Mylanta Gas.
It was another good day on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrials rose more than 117 points to close at 84.16. For the week, it was the largest gain in points ever. On the NASDAQ market, stocks were up nearly 10 points. There still appears to be ripples from the Federal Reserve's cut in interest rates yesterday, and people in the money business are still trying to understand what that cut will really mean. Here's ABC's Betsy Stark.
14,000. There was clear evidence today of what lowering interest rates, even a little, can do. It wasn't just the Dow that climbed. Asian and European markets rallied, interpreting Mr. Greenspan's move as a show of leadership in the global economic crisis. Merrill Lynch, the biggest brokerage firm in America, has put banks back on its buy list after months of avoiding them. Lower rates are good for the banking business. One day later, the tiny interest rate cut has taken a bite out of the negative psychology that has been plaguing Wall Street.
Seeing the Fed moving quickly like this, surprising the markets, makes me more optimistic, makes me less inclined to worry about recession risk.
But there are limits to what a small cut in interest rates can do. It cannot stop rumors circulating again today that big banks are in trouble. And it may not convince reluctant lenders at banks and brokerage firms that their balance sheets are secure enough to start taking risks again.
Many lenders of all kinds are concerned about the loans that they've extended and whether some of them, which they thought were sound, are going to turn out to be unsound and, in fact, turn bad.
But perhaps the biggest question this day after the rate cut is what prompted Mr. Greenspan to act. With all the gloomy news already out there, is there something else he knows that we do not? Betsy Stark, ABC News, New York.
Still on the money tonight, 2 steps today to address the most obvious weak spots in the global economy. The Japanese government has given final approval for public funds to failing banks. The International Monetary Fund knows it will be getting that $18 billion extra from the U.S. when Congress and the President sign the budget agreement next week. There's been no change in inflation. The Consumer Price Index held steady last month. As a result, the cost of living increases for people on Social Security will be up an average of just $10, and that is the lowest in more than a decade. We learned today that Maynard Parker, the editor of Newsweek since 1982, had died. He was a good friend, he was a tough competitor, and he was a good journalist. He was only 58. He'd had leukemia, and he died of pneumonia. Back in just a moment.
Something powerful is happening. Introducing the new Silverado with a more powerful V8 than any other pickup. It's the truck from Chevrolet.
Has frequent heartburn been a persistent problem for you? Have you treated it but still suffer on 2 or more days a week? Do you keep getting heartburn even though you've changed your diet? Your heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease. Ask your doctor about Prilosec. 1 capsule daily can provide complete 24-hour heartburn relief because it controls acid for 24 hours. 24 hours. Ask your doctor if Prilosec is right for you. Call to learn more. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Want 24-hour heartburn relief with 1 daily dose? Ask your doctor about the most prescribed acid control medicine in America, Prilosec.
I can't afford to have rough hands, not with my patients.
Oh, yes, you are.
I try to keep my hands smooth so that it will be comforting when I touch the patient. It's a great thing that this hospital uses Carey.
Carey's therapeutic formula works on 3 levels. First, it soothes. Then it moisturizes. Finally, it protects against dryness.
The babies love it when my hands are soft because then my skin is as soft as theirs.
Carey, it's trusted therapy for dry skin. And there's Carey antibacterial hand lotion to kill germs as it softens hands.
They've had to do a little remodeling at Pizza Hut headquarters since their co-founder came out of retirement to become a Papa John's franchisee. See, he thinks Papa John's makes better pizza than even the company he helped found. Today, Frank owns over 70 restaurants.
Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza.
He's got it.
Papa John's.
Hey, looks good here.
Try our Papa's Choice. That's a large pizza with your choice of up to 5 toppings for just $9.99.
We're going to mark a very significant anniversary this evening. It is 20 years ago tonight that Karol Wojtyła of Poland became the Pope. For those of us in St. Peter's Square at the time, it was an extraordinary moment. Suddenly the Catholic Church and the world were presented with the first non-Italian Pope in 455 years. What would it mean? Let's take a closer look. John Paul II, John Paul I had been the Pope for only 33 days, is now the longest-serving Pope in this century. He has been astonishingly active. He has met with 766 world leaders. He has visited 117 countries. He has traveled 695,000 miles. In Mexico City, 1979, his papal mass attracted 5 million people. He has spoken 16,000 times to more than 100 million people. John Paul has been enormously successful mobilizing the faithful to influence and even overturn dictators in many corners of the world, nowhere more so than in his native Poland. Many people do believe that he inspired the final assault on communism throughout the Soviet bloc. Today, a commemorative Mass in St. Peter's Square with 25,000 of his fellow Poles. He asked that they pray for him that he will be able to lead the world's 1 billion Roman Catholics into the new millennium. As the century ends, the Pope is already planning for one monumental challenge. He wants to be the peacemaker in the Middle East. ABC's Bill Blakemore tonight on the Pope's ambition.
For centuries, three religions believing in a single God have fought bloody battles in Jerusalem. Now, this frail figure is determined to step into the middle of it. Though advancing Parkinson's disease makes any movement difficult, John Paul is pushing to go to Jerusalem in the year 2000.
The hope that the three monotheistic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, will not only coexist, but coexist in peace. That's a very big hope, and I think that might be his crowning legacy to us.
His first step is expected to be to Baghdad in 1999. Vatican diplomats have already surveyed the desert where he'll pray at the home of the biblical Abraham. He then wants to meet in the Holy Land in 2000 with Palestinian and Israeli leaders who have repeatedly invited him there. To walk where religious politics have so often meant violence would be classic John Paul. Highly dramatic, on purpose.
As you get closer to the year 2000, I think he's even more convinced that maybe something should be done to just shock the world.
Aides say he aims to inject his Christian voice into what has been mostly a Jewish-Muslim debate.
The Pope is of the view that there are no insoluble problems in history. There are severe problems in history, but there are no insoluble problems in history.
That made sense back when the vibrant young Pope took communist Poland by storm. But for this shuffling figure?
Perhaps the sense of this frail old man trying to carry out a dream might make things possible that were not possible for, say, the powerful Pope.
That dream is keeping him busy in other ways as well. The Pope is trying to get his church to apologize by the year 2000 for its past sins, including those against Jews and Muslims. Then, insisting on the dignity of every person, regardless of religion, the Pope will take on the challenge of the Middle East. Bill Blakemore, ABC News.
The Pope is coming to the United States again in January. He will be in St. Louis, and he will, as always, get a great reception from lots of people. And he will, as he has before, have something of a struggle with many American Catholics. When we come back.
When Olga Maslova wants to phone her husband, she gives new meaning to the words long-distance call. He works in a space station.
Before you call or you fax or you internet, you need this, and this.
It's a job for Siemens. We're experts in voice, data, video, all kinds of communications, anywhere on Earth. So why not above the Earth as well?
So for this.
We're Siemens.
We can do that.
That the party of the first part did not intend for the party of the second.
I should have used Preparation H.
If you had, you wouldn't be suffering now. Preparation H helps stop itch and further irritation with a soothing layer of protection.
I should have used Preparation H.
Stops itch, stops irritation.
I'm 64. Is there anything I can do to stop bone loss?
Absolutely. Here's proof. In a landmark clinical study, Caltrate actually stopped bone loss in women at risk for osteoporosis, whatever your age.
It's never too late for Caltrate.
People everywhere are dialing 10-10-321 to save money every day. Now, every time you use 10-10-321, you also have a chance to win $10,000. Every 10-10-321 call is an automatic entry to win $10,000 with a winner each day. So dial 10-10-321 today. It's easy. You'll save up to 50% on your phone bill and get a chance to win $10,000. The more calls you make, the more you can save, and the more chances you have to win. 10-10-321, offering big savings and now giving away $10,000 a day.
Tonight, it's bizarre. People forcing the police to shoot them.
He made me his executioner. He made me do it.
Why did they do it? It happens more than you think. Hugh Downs, Barbara Walters, 2020, tonight.
Finally this evening, the Pope and the Americans. Not quite the challenge of the Middle East by any means. But the Pope has never had an easy time with the 61 million American Catholics. Our religion editor, Peggy Waymeyer, reports tonight on the flock that tends to wander.
Christi is not your typical Catholic church. In fact, under its popular priest, Father Jim Callan, it's been breaking the rules for 22 years. Callan has openly defied the Vatican by blessing homosexual couples, inviting Protestants to take communion, and by giving women roles reserved only for priests.
The rules have to serve the people, and right now they're getting in the way of serving the people, so they have to be changed.
Father Callan's rule bending is extreme and led to his removal last month from this parish. Most dissent among American Catholics is more passive, a matter of church members quietly picking and choosing which teachings they'll follow. But Pope John Paul II is expressing deep concern about the full range of dissent in this country. And in the twilight of his papacy, he wants to make it clear to American Catholics that departure from church doctrine will not be tolerated, that his teachings will remain binding when he's no longer here to enforce them. To do that, he's replaced liberal cardinals and bishops with conservatives. And several months ago, he issued 2 strong documents clearly aimed at curbing dissent. One forbids bishops' conferences from issuing statements that differ from the Vatican. The other is a sharp rebuke to liberal theologians, warning that dissidents will be punished. Theologian Charles Curran is a noted church dissident.
The irony in the whole thing is it's going to ruin the credibility of the teaching office of the Pope. I mean, already American Catholics turn the Pope off on practically every sexual issue there is. Let's face it.
But conservative Catholics say the Pope's crackdown on dissent will clear up much of the confusion in the church over just what Catholics should believe.
He really wants people to be 100% faithful in their adherence to Catholic teaching, because he thinks that this is the surest path to following Christ, and following Christ is the surest path to happiness and then eternal salvation.
Leading his people toward the kingdom of God is something this Pope has long done by the power of persuasion. But as time runs out, many believe Pope John Paul is abandoning persuasion and laying down the law. Peggy Waymeyer, ABC News, Dallas.
That is our report on World News Tonight. Don't forget 2020 later this evening. And on Nightline, what is it that sparks violence against homosexuals? I'm Peter Jennings. We hope you have a nice weekend, and then we'll see you Monday. Good night.
Next week, do these people have a secret to a longer, healthier life? What do they know that we don't? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always on.
Halloween is closer than you think. In fact, it's just a fantasy away.
This is a haunted house, you know. What the? Looking for a ghost?
The all-new Fantasy Island, followed by Cupid. Halloween comes early, this Saturday on ABC.
This is News 2 at 6.
They said, take cover. It was on County Hospital Road. It was headed toward East Nashville.
6 months after the tornado, Middle Tennessee is still repairing itself physically and emotionally. Good evening, everyone. It began about 3:30 in the afternoon, and for some, it hasn't ended yet.
Deadly twisters struck Middle Tennessee more than 6 months ago. In East Nashville, a common sight are the blue tarpaulins shielding the homes from the storms. We have team coverage of the victims and still battling for the first look at News 2's Chris Bungard.
Yeah, we're okay, we're okay.
The dark